The cryptocurrency fever is catching on, and while the index is going up or down, how stable is your financial health? Welcome to Crossover with me, Harleen Jabbal, where we are about connecting brands. Kenya's leading expert is going to be telling us what exactly is Bitcoin, how does it work, how secure is it, and are you interested? Well, let's find out from the man himself, Raymond Kaptich, Bitcoin educator and investor. Welcome to the show, Raymond.
Thank you very much, Harleen. Glad to be here.
So, starting off with a very simple question. What's money, Raymond?
Harleen, in my understanding, money is the most common of all assets. It's a medium of exchange. It's also a store of value. And obviously, it has evolved from the days of cowrie shells to the paper money that we have today. So it's just a medium of exchange, if you ask me. Yeah.
So then, what is this thing we are calling cryptocurrency, or the easiest one everyone has on their tip of the tongue is the Bitcoin? What is that then? Is that money?
I believe so. So Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, I think it's the present evolution of money.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you
money can have evolution?
Yes, I mean, just as I said earlier,
we had the shells, the barter
cowrie
trade.
shells, barter
Okay.
trade, and then we came
on.
to the paper money, and then we came to plastic, the cards, and now we've had electronic money, and now we are moving into what I would call digital money. So Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are, digital forms of money. Yeah. Now, Bitcoin is the oldest of all cryptocurrencies. It's actually the mother to the crypto industry, born January 3rd, 09. And it's the most common and acceptable form of digital currency today, and has indeed beaten, the traditional currencies if you look at the value part of it.
And is the mystery around who is the founder of Bitcoin? Can you give us a bit of a history?
Yes, I can, Harleen. I mean, if you can go online today and just type Bitcoin white paper. You'll see a document that was published October 2008 at MIT University by an author who called himself Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, if you speak Japanese, Harleen, that means the truth lies within. But we know, we think 99% we know who it is, a gentleman called Dr. Craig Wright from Australia. But it's very much like the internet, Harleen. I doubt if you know the inventor of the internet. So Bitcoin is also open source, meaning we don't need to know, who invented it. Its use has superseded, the inventor or inventors. It's really not something to concern anyone now.
So coming back to the way you've said Dr. Craig, and we're saying the inventors, now all these kinds of innovations, they have to come from either geniuses or people who have access to education or an opportunity. In our Kenyan environment, when it comes to financial, we've done the major breakthrough by creating M-Pesa. Are we empowered, or are we having that type of environment where our education system or even our working environment is supporting such inventions?
I really don't think so, Harleen. If you look at not just the Kenyan education system, even the world over, I'm very sure you are not taught how to make money in school. Yes. We basically told, go to school, come out, get a good job, and, figure out the money part of it once you're in employment. But there is not a conscious, there is no subject that says money 101, So when you look at, I think all of us, have our own experiences of what money is based on how your parents perhaps, treated it. We basically inherited how they viewed money. Now, you mentioned M-Pesa. M-Pesa is just, credited to Kenya. Yes. But I believe if you dig in history, it had been tried in other countries, only that Kenya got it right and got it right in a large scale.
It had the tipping point. tipping point that was needed for it to work.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
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 Okay. Yeah. So, do you think that as Kenyans we are ready for the future? We are far ahead as far as the digital responsiveness is there, but are we still okay with, do you think we can have an AI type of future, artificial intelligence, robotic? We've still not heard of a Kenyan robot. Are we ready for such things?
I believe we are ready. I mean, we have a lot of young people. I mean, given the space and the support, can really compete with the rest of the world. So as far as the brain power is concerned, we have a huge chunk, of young people. And if you look back, the person who really figured out M-Pesa was also a young person. So given the ability, the platform, I believe a lot of Kenyans can really compete with the rest of the world with artificial intelligence, technologies to do with money and many other things, not just money.
So is Bitcoin easy to understand, and why should anybody invest in that versus maybe buying themselves a house or in gold for that matter?
Bitcoin is easy to understand. Unfortunately, 99% of the information you get from media is negative.
Fake news or negative?
Even the mainstream media, they don't really give you the entire truth.
Is it a propaganda to keep it to a limited few to have that access to?
I strongly believe so. I strongly believe so. And, if I can give you an example, Harleen, about 5 months ago, the CEO for JP Morgan, one of the largest banks in the US, came out publicly, trashing Bitcoin. It's a scam, it's a bubble. He called it all manner of things. Now, coming from the CEO of one of the top banks in the US, of course, the response was such that from an average of $5,800 a Bitcoin, within 24, 48 hours, it had dropped by $1,000 because of panic. Now, fortunately, with blockchain technology, you cannot fake anything. A couple of days later, the same JP Morgan went and bought 200,000 Bitcoins in the dip. 48 hours later, the price was back up to where it was. So they made a cool $20 million. Just, propaganda, so the banks, most of the media houses, unfortunately, they don't really educate the public on what exactly is cryptocurrency, what is the underlying technology, what solution is it bringing. Because, Arlene, if you look at the world over, there are about 4 billion people who don't have access to financial services. They don't have a bank account, they don't have, access to that. But with blockchain, with Bitcoin, that is something that can be solved immediately. Because for you to have Bitcoin cryptocurrency, all you need is a smartphone. And right now, there are 3 billion smartphones in the world. Look at Africa, it can solve a really big problem. So for me, I advise people every day that, investing in a house is good, gives you that security. That's what we have been taught, all our lives. But I'm a student of someone like Robert Kiyosaki, who says that, a house is not necessarily an asset. Most of the time, it's a liability. In the bank balance, in the ledger books for the bank, it's an asset. But to somebody who is, paying a mortgage, it's a liability, unless you are using it to generate income. Similar to a car, if a car is generating income for you, then it's an asset. If it's not, it's a liability. So should you buy Bitcoin, buy gold, or go for real estate? If you look at the numbers, for me, I'm persuaded to go for Bitcoin. I just checked earlier ago, Harleen, an ounce of gold right now is $1,320.
All right.
The projection 2 years from now, it will be maybe $1,400. So an increase of $100 in 2 years. It is something, but not really exciting.
That's 10 cups of coffee.
Exactly. But if you look at Bitcoin, the projection 2 years from now, from the current rate today of 9,800, 2 years from now, you're looking at $33,000.
Wow.
That's 3-point-something times. Exactly. So if you really value profitability and, have a fair amount of risk appetite, then for me, I would ask you to take 1% of your value, put it in cryptocurrency. And I'm sure you'll be happy with your returns, 2-3 years from now.
Raymond, educate me here. Demand and supply. If more people will buy Bitcoin,
yes,
is it going to, tip the balance somehow, or is it still going to stay at
Yeah.
the way they're saying?
So, Harleen, if you study Bitcoin, unlike the normal currencies of the world, there is a fixed amount that will ever be available in circulation. And that fixed amount is 21 million. So there is a cap. There's a fixed amount of Bitcoin that will ever circulate. Now, the Bitcoin protocol works in such a way that X amount of Bitcoins are released every 10 minutes. In the first 4 years, it was 50 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. Second 4 years, it reduced to 25 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. As I speak to you now, it's 12.5 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. So you notice something. The supply or the issuance of Bitcoin is slowly diminishing. And it will take 131 years, Harleen, for the entire 21 million to be fully in circulation. We've only gone through 9 years. The amount of time left is 122 years. Certainly our third generation, will see the last of it. So you can never oversupply Bitcoin.
And it's right, the way you said, this
Exactly.
is truly an evolution.
It is, it's an evolution. And the invention behind Bitcoin really studied the three weaknesses of the current money supply. Number one, all currencies in the world, Harleen, lose value over time. It doesn't matter which one.
Yes.
Now, Bitcoin is designed in such a way that because of its limitedness in supply, with more adoption of it, the value, will automatically go up. And the best example is land. Where we've sat here today at Lazizi, 100 years back, this was free acreage. You
Yes.
could have got it for free.
Yes.
But today, how much is it? Millions and millions. Why? Because you cannot manufacture any more land here. What is here is fixed. So Bitcoin is the same. It's not speculative as the media and people would like us believe. So that's my view on it.
How secure is it? Because there is always this notion that if I keep my money or my gold or my valuables in the bank is safe, or the safest so far. So how safe is Bitcoin?
Bitcoin is very, very secure if you look at the encryption part of it.
Okay.
If I send you an M-Pesa today, you'll see a 10-digit number.
Yes.
M something something.
Yes.
If I send you a Bitcoin, it's a 32-digit encrypted code. So it's 3 times more secure, than the normal, mobile money systems. But of course, with every investment, there is an element of risk. You mentioned gold. Now, collectively in the world, we agree that gold has value.
Okay. Yeah.
If we all wake up tomorrow and say, you know what, we don't value gold, then its value will go down. Same case for land. Now, the biggest risk when it comes to digital currency is something known as hacking.
Yeah.
Bitcoin has a lot of value. And obviously there are people out there who don't want to acquire it the right way. They would rather steal yours or mine.
You mean a black Bitcoin, like they have black money?
No, not black Bitcoin. You see, if somebody takes the PIN code of your card or your M-Pesa account, they have access to your funds. So hacking is basically getting into your Bitcoin wallet and transferring that value. So obviously you can mitigate that in 2 ways. Number one, how you store your Bitcoin is very important. Okay. Number two, how you access your wallet is also very important. Never use public Wi-Fi, for example, to access your wallet. Use your own data. And then apart from just having a password, you can go 2-factor authentication, have an SMS sent to you. You can go 3rd-factor, put in a fingerprint. You can go 4th-factor, scan your iris.
So now all the cybersecurity things
exactly
plays a part here.
plays a part, yeah. So it is something that you can secure. But if you're careless about your passwords, then of course you'd have yourself to blame. But Bitcoin is secure.
So talking about security, how secure is Kenya as a business environment, and especially for products such as Bitcoin? Because the whole of last year we had our general election saga, and now I believe we're all set that there's nothing looking back, let's just move forward.
Yeah.
How is Kenya positioning itself to become a financial, possibly leader for such a cryptocurrency market?
I believe Kenya is well positioned to really take first place in Africa. If you look at the oldest Bitcoin exchange platform in Africa was born in Kenya. It's called BitPesa, 5 years back. They have now gone to other countries, Uganda, Tanzania, Nigeria, Ghana. So a lot of Bitcoin exchange platforms, there's another one from Malaysia, Singapore called Belfrix that are already operational here. And there are many others that are coming. And why they like Kenya is because we are already big users of mobile money. So to understand, to embrace this is not, difficult for the ordinary Kenyan. Other parts of Africa, they don't even know what mobile money is. So we are really at the forefront to make sure that Kenya is ahead. If you look at Bitcoin usage in Africa, Kenya is right now number 2 to South Africa. And I believe as a country we can go far if there is support, mostly from government. I really commend the ICT ministry in Kenya for, saying that, look, Kenya is already ahead when it comes to mobile money. We should not lag behind when it comes to digital currency. And we should take advantage of that pole position, and stay ahead. And obviously, government has to support this. The private sector is already ahead. Is already ahead. And I think the biggest stumbling block challenge would be the status quo. Meaning the banks, the people who do remittances, internal money transfers. The status quo, in my opinion, would rather Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are not adopted now, because
they are threatened?
Very threatened. And they should know that the technology behind Bitcoin is not just only threatening banks. Every sector.
Wow.
Every sector is going to be affected by blockchain. So I think the banks will be the hardest hit because that sector has largely remained undisrupted.
And ancient, to be really honest.
Completely ancient, completely, yeah. So, but they have banks. I was in South Africa in December. One of the leading banks has already innovated. They have a mobile platform which allows you to change Rand into Bitcoin. So, I'm sure some banks in Kenya are innovating and looking at ways by which, they can take advantage of the technology.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So Raymond, the passion about Bitcoin is quite strong within you.
Yes.
I want to get to know you now.
Yes.
You come from an education background of engineering.
Yeah.
How did you end up in this financial?
Yeah, it's for me. It's been a 20-year journey, Harleen. I like the word crossover. I think my initial crossover moment, I was in campus, my second year, doing civil and structural engineering at Aberdeen University in Scotland, and then I had a chance to work, vis-a-vis what I was studying. And then after 3 months of that work placement, I decided employment will never be for me. And
not many people get that realization quickly, or the courage.
I am so glad I got it in my second year, because after those 3 months, Harleen, I realized that as an employed person, all you're doing is just working, and then 90% of what you gain goes out instantly. And then I had a chance in Scotland to visit a farmer, somebody who had gumboots. But outside, they had, 5 cars, all their rooms were all en suite. And I realized, looking at the farmer and my engineering professor, it was
a stark difference.
Completely. And then I realized, what, I think
you're in one of the most developed
countries, yeah. So for me, I realized entrepreneurship is the way to go.
Excellent.
And then when I came back to Kenya in '97, I've journeyed through, various, aspects of entrepreneurship, gained experience. Now, 20 months ago, Harleen, a friend of mine, took me to a meeting where I now understood Bitcoin. And I remember that night, 3 a.m. in the morning, my wife asked me, what is it? And I said, Bitcoin. I couldn't sleep, just thinking about the possibilities. But initially, I, got my feet in the water. And back then, I was running a Kenya Power project in Baringo, last mile connectivity. So Monday to Friday, I was out in the field. Then on weekends like today, I would read on it, spend more time to understand this. And then last year, January, when we saw the kind of income we had got from this, with very little time put in, then we had to decide, another crossover moment. Should I stick to the titles, engineer so-and-so, doctor so-and-so, chief of this, or should I go after, finance entrepreneurship? So for me, I realized with Bitcoin, I'll have a bigger impact in Africa because a lot of people don't know what Bitcoin is.
Yes.
So for me, I took that as a golden opportunity to, number one, educate. That's why I call myself an educator. Because a lot of people don't know what Bitcoin is, what cryptocurrencies are. So every single day, Harleen, I educate on this. And then obviously those who are open-minded, those who see the opportunities, then decide to engage with cryptocurrencies. And for me, that's my joy, to see a lot of people embracing this and transforming their lives. And it's very fulfilling.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let me ask you the final question. You've already answered the crossover moments,
Yeah.
but you've said 20 years ago, 20 months, so 2020.
Wow.
What's up? It's just around the corner.
Yeah. So 2020 will be exciting in the sense that we're looking at 30,000 a Bitcoin. So for me, when I do my meetings, I challenge everybody that if you don't make $1 million in the next 2 years, which is 2020, then you have yourself to blame.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I wish you all the very best, and
Thank you so
I don't
much,
know, maybe
Harleen.
we'll get in touch with you and sign up for this Bitcoin.
Yeah, that would be exciting. I mean, I educate every day, and really congratulations for crossover. I think you're impacting a lot of lives and just transforming the world.
Thank you for supporting.
Yeah, thank you so much, Harleen.
Money makes the world go round, but hey, don't get caught up in the spinning of it. Thank you for all your subscriptions so far that have been coming into us. We really appreciate them. This is Crossover with me, Harleen Jabbal. I want you to continue subscribing to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter and our Instagram pages.